All right, recording has started.
All right, thank you, Arbitrator Sinan. I'd like to welcome everybody to this month's WCLA Lunchtime CLE. Today we have a special presentation for everybody brought to you by the Commission. The technology for this one is a little bit different than what everybody is used to from the past CLEs that we've had, because we're doing this via Webex. So any questions can be put into chat, and we will moderate and present those questions to the presenters as we are going along. Some questions we've talked about holding towards the end, but we will get everybody's questions answered. To begin, I would like to introduce the chairman of the Illinois Workers' Compensation Commission, Chairman Michael Brennan. Chairman, I will turn it over to you.
Michelle, thank you very much. Thank you to WCLA in particular for allowing us to present at your seminar, your monthly seminar. Thank you to yourself and the other board members who have taken the time to meet with us on more than one occasion to discuss procedures and how we're going to move forward. Also, thank you to Mitch Horowitz and Dan Tobias, who came in with a proposal that was sanctioned by both ITLA and WCLA, and which we've adapted in many ways for our purpose. So again, thank you to everyone who has participated and helped out. And thank you to Arbitrator Sinan, who's going to be doing the main part of this presentation. In fact, all of it as soon as I close my mouth. The reason that I've asked Arbitrator Sinan to do this is because she is very familiar with the technology. She and other arbitrators have been working very hard to come up with a process that will be universal for the commission and that will work for all. So we are very excited about what's coming August 1st. And we have a new set of procedures that we're publishing, and I believe they've been shared with all, so that we can accomplish some goals. What we wish to accomplish is a consistent method of handling a docket for all arbitrators, consistent method of handling a docket for all who appear before the arbitrator, a process that everyone can understand, and it allows for an orderly setting of cases for pretrials on a monthly basis, and a transparent process that treats all parties with the same level of due process. We have to make certain that we do these things. We're on Webex for a reason. Everybody asks, why can't we use Zoom? The answer is we control Webex at the commission. We control it. It's vetted by our Department of Information Technology. It is safe and it is secure for us and for all parties. So beginning August 1, there's a series of procedures that we've listed. We are all going to be working through Webex in the future. We're not going to be taking phone calls by the arbitrator. We're not going to use the telephone call-in method. These procedures are being posted. I believe everyone has a copy. It will become more evident as to why we're going to do things this way as Arbitrator Sinan makes the presentation. So with that, I say thank you to Rachel. I ask her to take over, and thank you very much, Michelle, and thank you to WCLA for your time. We much appreciate it.
Thank you, Chairman, for trusting me to be involved in these upcoming changes. So for those of you that don't know me, I'm Arbitrator Rachel Sinan. I'm one of the Chicago arbitrators and was previously a work comp attorney, having represented both petitioners and respondents in the past, primarily in Chicago, but as well as the collar counties. Now, I started using breakout sessions during my pre-trials, and it became popular among many attorneys as well as arbitrators to the point where the chairman asked me to help create these new changes. So we'll start with the chairman's new procedures. I'll then show you how to access the status call results online, how to use breakout sessions on WebEx, and at the end, I'm going to open up some breakout sessions, and we're all going to practice going in and out of rooms. I have arbitrators Hickey, Nath Rivera, Napleton, and Cellini here with us, who will be in the individual rooms to help guide you. Well, we also have David Larson here to answer any questions that are specific to Compile. There will be an email blast following this presentation with the chairman's new procedures and access to a training video that you can refer to later on. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, so with the chairman's new procedures, what you want to keep in mind is primarily that telephone entry is no longer going to be allowed, and that includes pro se settlements. So it will be on the defense attorneys to need to coordinate with that pro se litigant, work on them to download Webex. If that's really not an option, maybe you would have them come into your office to do that together. And if needed, we can arrange for an in-person pro se settlement conference. What's important is that everyone needs to register into Webex. You're going to need to create an account. On your profile, make sure your displayed name is your first and last name. So if you've been using the guest option, you're really going to want to create an account. In addition, if you do want to use your cell phone or any other kind of mobile device, you're going to want to download Webex because that telephone entry, that call-in function's not going to be allowed anymore. We're also going to be asking that everybody have their cameras on, and as a result, the appropriate attire is going to be required as well. Now, everything's going to stay virtual as far as having our status calls and the pre-trials on Webex. So getting more familiar with Webex is really going to be important. What's also important to remember is with pre-trials at the status call, you're going to be able to select your day, but we can't accommodate a time request anymore. We're going to be using the comp file scheduling app, and that is going to designate the time. So while you can select your day, you're not going to be able to select your time. Naturally, if there's a conflict, talk to your opponent, reach out to the arbitrator. We're going to do our best to accommodate, whether you're double booked or if there's any kind of conflict. What's also going to happen is think of it very similar to how it was pre-COVID. So for example, you would come in, and this was primarily Chicago, but also the other venues. You would come in and there would have been a list of the cases that were set for that day, and there would be a line number. That line number was different than what you had at the status call. So we're going to be publishing that list, the pre-trials that are set for that day with that arbitrator, and there's going to be that line number or sequence number. I'll use that word interchangeably. That sequence number is going to be the breakout session number that you are assigned to. And so what I'm going to show you is how to find that information, as well as then how to go into the breakout session yourself. Now, things are going to start on the hour. Every arbitrator is going to be starting at the top of the hour, and they'll have a certain number of cases that they set within that time frame, okay? So some arbitrators at a minimum will be setting 6 per hour. That's to encourage and hopefully remedy any situations where arbitrators were running out of slots. We want to make sure that you guys are getting your pretrial dates when you file motions. On the other hand, we want to make sure that we're not, having to rush you out of your room. And so there's a max of 20 per hour. So arbitrators are going to have that option between 6 per hour or 20, depending on their comfort level. And that's one of the big things is in the scheduler, you might see that something's set for 9:03. That means 9 a.m. So when you see your time that you're set for on the scheduling app, it's always going to be at the top of the hour. I understand that a big concern is, well, God, how long am I going to have to wait? If everybody needs a full length pretrial, it is possible in theory that you would maybe have to wait up to an hour. However, similar to how it was pre-COVID, if your case is below the line and you don't need the arbitrator, you can just log off. If it's a red line case, you're going to want to get an okay from the arbitrator before you log off. So with that, even if an arbitrator is setting a certain number for an hour block, there's going to be RTCs. Not everybody's going to need a full detailed pretrial. So it's unlikely that you're going to have to wait a full hour. If for whatever reason you think that your matter is going to require, let's say 20 minutes, maybe reach out to that arbitrator to just make sure that you can be accommodated. Maybe we'll have to reschedule, or maybe enough people RTC that they can accommodate you within that hour block. So definitely keep communication with your opponent as well as the arbitrator, and we're going to do our best to accommodate. It's going to be possible that you might be double booked, and there's nothing wrong with communicating that to your opponent and saying, for example, Arbitrator Sinan, I'm actually double booked. I'm going to be with Arbitrator Hickey as well. We're in session 3, so we're ready when you are. I will definitely keep that in mind and do my best to address your case first, so that way you can go to your next pretrial. And of course, then tell your opponent that you might be late because you're in the room with another arbitrator. That's completely acceptable and very similar to how things were pre-COVID, especially in Chicago. You did not simultaneously stand in 4 lines. You might have been in one line and talked to your opponent that you had to wait for one case and then go to the next room. So it's a very similar feeling to that. So let's go ahead and talk about the how to find that call sheet. So when we look for your breakout session number, and again, I'm going to use sequence number and line number kind of interchangeably, you're going to want to go to the main website. And on that website, you'll see under calendars and call sheets, it will take you to a page and you'll see how to find the call sheets in comp file. This is the same process that you would do to access the status call when you were prepping for that. Now, you would go ahead and list the setting venue, you would want to list the arbitrator. Now, instead of asking for status call, you're going to want to go ahead and hit pretrial. And then you would select the date that you are looking for. Now, you'll get a list of the cases that are set for pretrial for that day with that arbitrator. And you'll notice that if for whatever reason you wanted to confirm your time, on that left-hand side, there's a plus sign next to the number. When you click on that, it will drop down and you'll be able to see your set time. Now, remember, arbitrators are starting at the top of the hour. So if you see something like 2:03, that means 2 p.m. So remember that the sequence number is your breakout session number. So sequence number, line number, that's going to be the room assignment that you have. So now the question is, how do you join a breakout session? And I have a video that will actually be giving you that reference later so you can watch it. And let's go ahead and watch that now. Hi, this is Arbitrator Rachel Sinan, and in this video, I'm going to show you how to join your own breakout session. Do you guys have audio? Now, you'll see here that I've actually logged into Webex from the perspective of an attorney, let's say a respondent's attorney. So I've been let in from the lobby, and I'm in the main meeting room. I see that petitioner's attorney is here as well as the arbitrator. Now, to get into my own breakout session, using the top menu bar, you'll see File, Edit, Share. One of the options further right will be Breakout Sessions. When you left click on that, a drop-down menu will appear, and one of the first options will be to join breakout session. Now, you'll notice that some of the other people in this main meeting room are leaving to join their breakout sessions. And when I put my cursor over Join Breakout Session, another drop-down menu will appear with all the different numbered sessions that are open. Now, for some reason, Webex does not have this list in numerical order, so be careful as you select the session that you have been assigned to. So let's say in this example, I'm going to go ahead and join Breakout Session 11, and I'm going to left-click on that. Now let's pretend that I've actually joined the wrong breakout session and I need to move to the right one. Another way to do this is to use the Participants tab. On the bottom right, you will see a button that says Participants. When you left click on that, the tab will open. One of your options will be to show other breakout sessions. It's blue and it's underlined. When you left click on that, the breakout session list window appears. Now this list is in numerical order. And what's also good about this option is that you can also see who is in each breakout session. So for example, I see breakout session 10 and then parentheses 2. That means there's 2 participants in that room. If I left click on this arrow by breakout sessions 10, I can see that petitioner's attorney as well as the arbitrator are in breakout session 10. If that's the room I want to join, on the right side is a blue option that says join, and I left click on that. Now I'm in breakout session 10. I see that petitioner's attorney is here as well as the arbitrator. Now, in order to leave, there's 2 options again. Using that top menu bar, breakout sessions, you hit left click on that, you'll see leave breakout session. Now, keep in mind that leaving a breakout session does not mean you've left the Webex meeting. It just means that you've gone back to the main meeting room. Another option is on the bottom bar, you'll see a red button and it will say leave meeting or session. You'll have to click on that and it will prompt you to confirm. Do you want to leave the session? Again, meaning that you're just going to go back to the main meeting room, or the option to the left in red says leave meeting. That means that you're leaving the breakout session and the main meeting room, you're leaving Webex. So depending on whether you want to return to the main meeting room or leave the meeting, this is how you would do that. So to show one more time, we have the top menu bar for breakout sessions and to join various rooms. And then we also have that participants tab, which show other breakout sessions, and you can also move around that way. So now that you know how to enter and leave your own breakout sessions, I look forward to seeing you at the next pretrial. Thank you. All right, so let's go kind of through some of that again and expand on those things. So joining your breakout session. We talked about going to that top bar, hitting out breakout session, join session, then going to your number. Now, I want you guys to keep in mind that it is possible that we're not going to have, like, let's say 10 breakout sessions, because we'll likely have much more than that set for the day. So you're going to see something like breakout sessions, maybe 1 through 100 or 1 through 70 something. That doesn't mean if, let's say you're in breakout session 63, that you're the 63rd in line, like for that day you are, but not for that hour gap. So 1 through 10, once that's done in the morning, those rooms stay empty, and then it just keeps going from like 11 to 19 and so forth. So keep that in mind. And also, when you're trying to join that breakout session, if you see at the bottom there, if that list runs all the way down your window, you'll notice a little arrow. That's how you're going to keep scrolling to access additional rooms. Now, there's another way to join breakout sessions, and that's going to be by using this Participants tab. You go to Show All Breakout Sessions, you will see that window open up, and then you can join from there. I like this list a little bit better because the rooms are in numerical order. You can also confirm, like the video showed, who's in that room, and then go ahead and join that room, and you can see your opponent. Now, keep in mind, yes, you'll be able to see where the arbitrator is. And maybe there's a question of, well, can I just go ahead and go in that room and talk to the arbitrator? Well, think about it as pre-COVID. Would you go into a hearing room that had the door closed? You wouldn't. So we see you. We know you're in the room. We will get to you as soon as we can. Now, some of you who are familiar with Webex might know that there is a button that you can push to ask for help. That's different than raising your hand. At this point, we're going to ask that you hold off on using that. As we're getting all the arbitrators up to date and using this system, every time that button is pressed, it kind of creates window prompts, and it's a little overwhelming for those who are using breakout sessions for the very first time. So that's something that in the future we plan to roll out and instruct the arbitrators on how to handle that. So just for the time being, hold off on that. Again, we do see you in your rooms. We're going to get to you as fast as we can. There is also a way for us to broadcast messages to the breakout sessions, but at this point, we're just going to wait for everybody to get on that same page with using these breakout sessions. So again, the difference between leaving a breakout session and leaving a meeting. So we use that red button at the bottom, and just recall that there's leaving the session puts you back into the main meeting room if for whatever reason that's what you want to do, versus leaving the meeting entirely, leaving both the breakout session, Webex. Very often we see people who think they have left their breakout session, they're just still on there, maybe talking to themselves, and we can overhear that. If you're using your iPhone or even an Android, it's going to be the same format. And so you'll see that there's a participants tab that will lead you to show all breakout sessions. That's in blue and underlined. And then you can see all the different sessions and join from there. Very similar if you're going to be using an iPad. And so while I don't have any Android devices, what I have seen and heard is that it is a similar format. So again, let's remember, Michelle, do we have any questions?
This question goes to what you were just talking about, which is why I popped in here. And the question was, is this going to appear the same on a Mac, like a Mac PC, as it will on one of these PCs?
It's my understanding that it will. When I tested it out on my husband's Apple computer, it seemed to be the exact same format. So same functions, same buttons. It might look a little different and be placed in different places, like with you saw in the iPad. You might only be able to access the participants tab, but with a Mac, you should still have that file bar on the top and access it in the same way. And if for whatever reason that's not the case, I would encourage you to contact me. I'd like to hear about that, and we can make sure that we modify any future training. So going back to
that is my experience as well, other than the iPhone and the iPad, which just make sure you look for that participants button.
Thank you, Arbitrator. So going back to the procedures, let's recall you can't call in anymore. So if you want to use your cell phone or any other mobile device, you're going to have to download the Webex app. That's free. It's free to create an account. You're going to want to create a profile, have your displayed name. We're going to need to turn on our cameras going forward and be appropriately dressed. If you're double booked, tell your opponent, let the arbitrator know. We will do our best to accommodate. And as a general rule, if you have a Redline case, contact the arbitrator before you just sign off. But like it was pre-COVID, if it's below the line and you don't need the arbitrator, feel free to just sign off. So I guess at this point, do we have any questions before we kind of go into this interactive portion?
Yeah, Arbitrator Sinan, there were a couple that have come in here.
Sure.
I see Arbitrator Salini put a response to one of them here, but I think it's a good thing for everybody to be aware of what the question was and the answer. If I see an attorney I want to speak with, but is not involved with today's case, can I find that attorney's breakout session and join it to have a word with that attorney?
Sorry, I'm sorry, say that one more time.
If an attorney has an attorney they want to speak with, but it's not involved in that case that they're in today, but they know they're in another breakout session, can they join that breakout session to have a word with them?
I would say, so one of the functions you can use, the chat.
I mean, my response to that, Rachel, was you could
Yeah.
do that, but you're going to be interrupting somebody. I mean, if two people are in that room and you jump into it and they're in a meeting, kind of rude. If somebody's by themselves in that room, then it's probably reasonable to jump in there, but we don't want everybody jumping into these rooms all over the place, I think, especially right off the bat while we're all trying to get used to this. At least that would be my response.
And I would just add to that, if there's an email like, hey, I see that you're in Arbitrator Sinan's room, can we talk real quick? I think that's completely appropriate to then maybe go into an empty room. It would be similar to if you were in the venue, right? If somebody was in there with someone in a room, you wouldn't barge in. You might, though, if you catch them alone, say, hey, let's go grab an empty room over here and let's chat. So think of these breakout sessions as like individual hearing rooms. If it's empty and you come across your co-counsel and you guys are fine going in there, but if somebody's meeting with someone, you wouldn't have interrupted that person in real life. It's similar virtually. So Michelle, go ahead and any other questions?
Yeah, the next one is if I have two pretrials with two different arbitrators and I need to check in or log in, do I leave the meeting with one to toggle back to the main Webex menu to find my other arbitrator?
Yeah, so some attorneys are using multiple devices, and I don't think that's necessary. So if you were to log into my meeting room, check in with me and say, Judge, I am double booked. Can I jump to Arbitrator Hickey's room real quick and I'll be back? Not a problem. Like, communicate that to your opponent as well. You would then remove yourself from my meeting, join Arbitrator Hickey's room, and then do the same and come back. So I don't think it's necessary to have multiple devices. If anything, I think that's more confusing. And then you're trying to talk to one person while you're also unmuted on another device. It's completely okay to just log off, tell us, come back. And again, we have that hour block. So if for whatever reason you need to join later and you've communicated that with the arbitrator and your opponent, it's just like if you were popping into a different arbitrator's room, if you imagine how it was pre-COVID in Chicago, for example. Michelle, anything else?
There's quite a few here.
Okay, that's okay.
Will the arbitrator check into the breakout session for redline cases, or will we need to move back to the main room in that situation?
The arbitrator will go from room to room. So they will be moving from room to room. So you just need to stay where you are. We will get to you. We see you. We will get to you as soon as you can. An arbitrator may choose to like remove you from that room and bring you into a different one for whatever reason, but essentially you stay where you are, we'll find you.
Okay. Next question is there any reason to be in the meeting room any longer since you are supposed to just automatically go to your assigned breakout room?
No, not necessarily. So when you come in, like, you will be in the lobby, we will admit you into the meeting room, and then from there you will go into your breakout session. So that's like coming into the venue, and before you got in line or went into a hearing room, you might run into people. So someone asked earlier about, oh, if I catch somebody, that actually would be kind of the appropriate time to be like, hey, Mark, can we talk later about that case? I got to go into my session now. So similar to, think of it as like a lobby, a reception area where you might, see each other as you're going into your breakout session.
Okay.
Although, and I would tell you that in my experience with those people that are already used to this, they're in that meeting room for seconds before they jump into their breakout room. So it's not like they're going to be sitting there for a long time.
At the status calls, do the clerks and other non-attorneys need to be on camera as well as the attorneys?
We would like all participants to be on camera at this point.
When you download Webex, what is the site name? I guess probably asking what is the website name for it?
Like, how do you download it?
Yeah.
I would recommend just Googling Webex. I think that would find it. I don't have a direct link. That's something I can find, and we can maybe do in a future Wicklet email, provide that
Okay.
information. So we'll
Yes, we can certainly do
And I
that.
have been told by attorneys, I have not tried it myself, that when you try to access it on the web versus the app, that it asks you if you want to download it.
Some of the arbitrators were assigning blocks of time. Does the comp file system assign by any sorting criteria? And if so, by firm or assigned attorney?
Not really understanding the question, but when your case comes up in the line, line 2, oh, you want the 17th, 9 a.m. When the next one comes up, you want the 19th also. While the scheduler might say like 9:03, at the status call, I'm just going to say 9 o'clock. So at the status call, I will just be like, all arbitrators will just say like 9, or 10, or whatever the hour block is. We just want to again remind you that when you look it up in the scheduler, if you're seeing something like 9:15, that's 9 o'clock. So it's always going to be at the top of the hour.
And I would say, I think what he's asking basically is, I think some arbitrators are saying, okay, if this attorney has 5 cases with me, I'll set a block of time, things of that nature. No. You're just going to you're going to be able to select the date, and that's it. Otherwise, comp file is going to assign the time, which may separate your cases out.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what the question was asking, Arbitrator Salini. How does the sequence number come into play?
So the sequence number, line number, is going to match what your breakout session number is. So when you're looking to join a breakout session, you're wondering, well, what number am I supposed to go into? That's the sequence number that you should be looking up online. And that's not the same number from the status call. That is the published list online that is for the pretrials that were set with that arbitrator for that day.
Arbitrator Sinan, I know you want to do the interactive demonstration, and I've got a bunch of questions here.
Yeah, go ahead.
So why don't we do the active demonstration and then come back? Because some of these questions may resolve with a little bit of that too, and we can then get to the questions.
So let's go ahead, and I'm going to create some breakout sessions now. I'll keep it simple. We're only going to have maybe about 4. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to assign, we got Nath Rivera is going to be going into room 1. I got Arbitrator Napleton will be in 2. Arbitrator Hickey will be in room 3. And Arbitrator Salini is going to be in room 4. And so what we're going to do is I'm going to open up these rooms. You're going to practice going into that room, maybe joining another session, and then coming back here to the main meeting room, and we will have additional Q&As. So you should go ahead and see that in a minute. And I think if my panelists can go ahead and jump in their rooms, you guys should have the ability to do that. So go ahead and start practicing joining into your breakout sessions and come back here. Everything okay, Selene? You're on mute right now.
In my room.
I'm sorry, what was that?
So how do I start? I can't access where it says open breakout rooms.
You won't be able to. So that's
Okay.
I'm only accessible to that. So just verbally, like if someone's like, I don't know how to leave, like again, redirect them to that red button and have them go. So yeah, you're not going to be able to open up that panel.
So I'm just going to be in the room with them, basically.
Correct.
I think some people are joining them because the attendee number keeps changing.
I see the attendee dropping.
Okay.
But we have a lot of attendees here that are still here. So again, you're going to pick any session you want. Again, you're using that top bar, or you're using that bottom participants tab. So if you've stepped away from your computer and you're joining us right now, we're actually practicing a little interaction. Join a breakout session, anyone you choose. You'll find that there's an arbitrator there to help guide you if you have any questions. So if anyone's actually having any difficulty with this, go ahead and put a message in the chat to us. We'll see if we can go ahead and do that. So Mr. Garfalo, I see that you said you do not have a top bar. Do you have the bottom bar that has participants? So like a little person, it will be on the far right-hand side at the bottom. If you click on that, there will be a blue line that says show breakout sessions. You click on that, but it does not work for you, Mr. Garfalo. Let's see. Let's see actually what happens. Can you tell us what device you're on? And let me see.
I would say, can we unmute him?
That's what I was about to do.
Oh, he's on a Mac.
You are on a Mac. You don't, so there was a question about needing the app. So I just want to make sure that you need to have like your complete name displayed. We recommend downloading it. There's a lot of oftentimes issues when people do go through the website, whether they drop out, they can't use their camera. So we've noticed increased issues when people are not able to use that. Give me 1 second as I field some.
So I'm going to try to, so I'm basically telling everyone to just kind of jump in and out and get used to that. You're muted as well, Arbitrator Senate. Okay.
All right, sorry about that. We are
That's
going
okay.
to start unmuting people.
Okay. I was going to say I couldn't unmute anybody here.
I am so sorry about that.
That's okay.
So we're
I
going to
don't think I had the ability.
do that and answer any questions that people may have. So again, you're all being unmuted at this point. I think everybody should be either on mute or you can be using the chat function to communicate. So thanks for your patience.
We're all unmuted.
Yes, so you're all unmuted at this point if you have any questions or take it from there. So let me go into some of the other breakout rooms and unmute people.
All right. Thank you, Arbitrator
No
Senate.
problem. Hey, Arbitrator.
Arbitrator Senate. Hey. So I know they can't talk, but they're writing me messages.
Yep. So I am going to work on unmuting everybody. My apologies
Okay.
for that.
No problem.
But yeah, for whatever reason you can't communicate, you can also use the chat function. But I'm going to go ahead and unmute everybody in here.
And again, Arbitrator Senate, the goal here is for them to move in and out, ask questions if needed,
Absolutely.
etc.
Ask any questions, practice, going in from room to room, using both that top bar as well as the participants bar. So Arbitrator Hickey here is available to, answer any questions and kind of guide through that.
Mm-hmm.
And in a few minutes, we'll come back to the main meeting room and take it from there.
Okay, thank you.
I guess while I'm unclicking here, anybody have some questions?
Well, Arbitrator Senate, let me ask you: am I able to unclick them as a panelist or as only as a co-host?
Do you see that when you pull up the attendance? I don't know if you.
Let me see.
I can, so I have it, and I'm just unmuting everybody.
Yeah, I don't have that access.
I can't make that many people co-hosts.
Yeah, that's fine.
And we acknowledge, guys, technology is not perfect, and we're all evolving with it.
And you got one room.
Yeah.
So basically, every
At
arbitrator's,
this point.
and then once you get there, they tell you what.
I'm sorry, counsel, can you repeat that?
Allowing me to do it, so, and here's Rachel.
So sorry about that. As you guys can tell, not everything is perfect, and we're also evolving and learning different things.
So I did, several people are now popping up where at least they're unmuted. I don't know what happened, but there's no way I can access
I am
breakout.
physically doing that. I am
Okay,
actually
gotcha.
unmuting people. So does anybody either in the chat um, have any kind of questions? I saw a question about Arbitrator Salini. Can you read that one about subrooms?
Yeah, I think that's what Dave's talking about is I'm basically in the room with everybody else. I can't create breakout rooms where I'm at.
Yeah. So to confirm this, this is okay. Yes. So Gina, you make a good point. Sorry. In this example, we're just practicing going from room to room. This is considered what's considered a Webex seminar, which is a little different than how the personal meeting rooms work. Just
So they're
because
just trying to go from room 1 to 2 to 3 to 4, basically.
yeah, so pretty much at this point, it's the same procedure as going from room to room. It's a little different here with you guys being muted, and that's really just because this is a seminar. The privileges are a little different, but I'm unmuting people here if they have any questions or any issues getting into their rooms.
So basically, all of you that can hear me, you're essentially going, I am one breakout room myself, as are each arbitrator. So you're going to be looking to go to that breakout sessions button or the participants button to find your way into room 1, 2, and 3 as well, so that you're practicing going between the rooms. Great.
And unmuted, this could be scary.
As I unmute people,
No loud chewing. Okay, got it.
and we do plan to run some additional training as well, so this won't be the last one, and I'll take this under consideration that I might need to.
How soon after the status call do these?
I'm sorry, what was that? Somebody asked a question about the status call.
I didn't catch it either. If you guys have questions, those of you who are unmuted, feel free.
All right, I'm going to jump into one of the other rooms, so I'll see
Okay.
you, and I'll come back.
I'm jumping too. Bye.
Confused questions. Arbitrator Sinan, hello.
Hello, I do realize that a lot of people are muted, right?
Everybody is, but they have not held back in terms of being complete and utter smartasses in the chat section here.
Love it. So
yeah,
I want to just keep in mind. So as I unmute everybody in here, keep in mind that the procedure of jumping in and out of rooms and leaving to the main room is the same that it will be with all arbitrators. This is a webinar, so the difference is that you guys are muted, the cameras are off, and that's just because of the volume of people that we have. But yes, typical, you would have your camera on, you would be able to unmute yourself. The privileges here are just a little bit more locked because of the webinar. But going into a room and how to find that is the exact same. And that's the purpose of this, is we want to make sure you guys are comfortable going in and out of rooms. So as I unmute somebody, does anybody have any questions?
Well, I think Mr. Barish was here earlier, and he had a question about trying to ambush people he needs to talk about in other rooms. So
that was actually my long lost cousin David Barish, who spells his name with one R. That's okay. Thank you for the compliment.
okay.
All right, so I got some people unmuted here for you.
All right, so people can talk now. That works.
Yeah, new people entering, or I'll keep bouncing back. So I'll let you handle some more questions, and maybe in about another couple minutes, everybody will return.
Okay, very good. All right, so now everybody is unmuted.
Arbitrator Sinan, I've got some unmuted people here, but they are asking questions, so I'm just trying to figure out how to
I think that I can help
unmute.
with, like, unmute some other people.
Thank you.
Any questions that I can answer? Was there anything in the chat, Arbitrator, that you wanted to clarify?
There's some, yeah, I've been talking to everybody. I'm hoping they can all hear me. There have been some questions Mr. Kaufman had asked. He was on his iPad, how to join the breakout session. We were able to resolve that thanks to other attorneys who chimed in. Another question was, what's the easiest way to switch between arbitrators? I told him you have to log out completely. You have to go back into the Iwcc website and then click on the arbitrators website. We're not joined as of now. We're not together, so we still have individual websites.
Yeah, and so keep in mind too, you don't always have to. I know a lot of us go onto the website and then find that, I'll admit it, a terrible Excel sheet with just all of the dates and the links, and that can be confusing, and maybe you hit the wrong link. When you download the app, you should have the ability to just type in like our email address or our name, and it will just automatically connect you to our meeting room. So that's another way to do it. I've also heard of attorneys who just take those websites and they just have that saved in a Word document, and it's just much more accessible than having to go through the IWCC website, open up that calendar, find that very small link. So it might be easier for you to do it that way.
Right.
All right, so we'll be
stick with the
wrapping up here
old-fashioned
in a
way.
couple minutes and ask some rooms from there.
Okay, yeah, I see people are unmuted. There's some people that are still muted, but those that are unmuted, if you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer any questions.
All right, for those of you in this main room, we're just going to give it a couple more seconds, let people come back in and finish answering any questions that might be needed. Okay, so we'll just give it another minute here.
Looks like a lot of people are starting to stream back in.
Yep. No, Larry, I see your full name. All right, we'll have all breakout sessions closed in the next minute and people will come back in.
Okay.
David, an IBM trick. I am not familiar with that device. I can look into that for you, and let me write down your name. You can also shoot me an email as well, and we'll see if we can figure it out. I might regret this, where I tell people they can contact me with their tech questions, but I've been doing it for a little bit with the arbitrators. So all the breakout sessions are going to be closing here in like 15 seconds. Everybody who's left in there will automatically be diverted into this main meeting room. So let's go ahead. And do you have any additional questions, Michelle, that have been popped in?
Yeah, and some of these are the ones that were there before. And a lot of them get to the technical things and some of the changes in procedure. The first one is, in the past, some arbitrators have asked that we not turn on video for status calls because of Wi-Fi broadband bandwidth issues due to the number of people. Has that been resolved?
There shouldn't be any issues on our end. I know that a lot of people, when they do turn on their own videos, they can have problems with the bandwidth. To a certain degree, Webex isn't going anywhere. So if you need to contact your internet provider, get some stronger bandwidth. It's 2022, and this is the way things are going to stay with pretrials and status calls. So to a certain degree, you're going to need to do
that. Next question.
Arbitrator,
I think Arbitrator Salini's on
you're on
mute.
mute.
So I was initially, and it was not my internet, but CompFile has gotten better and better. The same thing was happening when we were doing the, because I was one of the first ones entering the dates live at the call through comp file, and that was causing problems. But from my understanding, they've improved all of those things, so it should not be on our end any further.
And the arbitrators also know that if they are having issues on their end, to contact, we have IT staff, and so those issues should be resolved.
What if I have two separate pre-trials with the same arbitrator but different attorneys in the same time block? Should I sign into the earlier sequence number first?
I mean, up to, I think communicating that with your opponent and talking to them about, one might be ready and the other one you need to catch up on. So again, you can go from a room to room. So you can jump into one with one opponent and say, hey, Steve, I really got to talk to Jim in the next room. Can you just wait a little bit? I mean, again, how did you do it pre-COVID when you were in person? We're replicating how that is virtually. So you have the ability to jump around. So if you see your opponent and you have two cases, talk to them. And there's nothing wrong with me jumping into a session and having some say, you know what, my opponent's in another room. If you could just circle back, I'll do that.
This one makes me chuckle, the start of it. This is tough to learn for an old dinosaur. And it has been tough for some arbitrators to be able to do so too. Have all the arbitrators been schooled how to do this?
So we have worked, you're seeing some of our mentor team here that we've been training all the arbitrators. And so, yeah, one of the reasons that this is even scaled down from what, like, our arbitrators who are very familiar with these sessions, we're kind of scaling it down a little bit to allow arbitrators who are not familiar with the schedule to kind of catch up. So yes, there has been a lot of training with the arbitrators so that everybody can do the same thing. We've provided this Wiklet training. Some of these videos are going to be available for later reference. We will also be having additional training. And I understand that. And I think as an old man arbitrator, Celine, what can you add to that? I mean, because I understand it's a struggle.
All I can tell everybody is the more you use it, the easier it gets. Certainly, because, I was part of this process from the start. And as I told Rachel earlier, it's like I have, as we're talking about this, I haven't even done this yet. So I started doing it with this last cycle, and I'm trying to help attorneys as we get through, and I'm learning as we go. And I certainly can tell you, each day I did it, it got easier and easier. And Rachel, we had our seminar the other day where they presented it to all the arbitrators on how to do it. And Rachel was like, well, how do you think it went? And I was like, it was really boring because at that point I was versed in it. And, that's what I mean. When you're just looking at it and you haven't done it, you're going, oh my God, how do I do this? How is this going to work? And it is. When you have a lot of people in these rooms initially, it's difficult. But I think everybody will learn as time goes on. It gets easier and easier to jump around to these rooms. And everybody's just got to be patient with us, learning as well as you.
Yeah, I agree. We're all evolving. I saw a message earlier in the chat about half-hour sessions instead of hour. We're going to talk about it. Some of the arbitrators previously were working on half-hour blocks. Let's let everybody get on board, all the arbitrators. So everybody's on hour blocks for right now. That is something that we will discuss in the future as more people become comfortable with these breakout sessions.
And I think the chairman's always amenable to discussion with anybody on these things over time. We all want to fine tune this. We all want it to be as best as it can possibly work for everybody.
Well, and at the same time, I think from the bar's perspective, we're looking for some consistency as we go from arbitrator to arbitrator. And this is designed to put that in place for us. So we're not sitting there guessing what's going on too. Arbitrator Napleton was very kind to provide the website link in the chat for Webex in response to that earlier question. So the person who's asking can go look for it there. If this one is if I'm on Webex already, do I need another account? And the answer would be no. How soon will the arbitrators post the pretrial sequence numbers online before the actual pretrial date?
So,
go ahead, Rachel. Sorry.
Oh, so they show up simultaneously. So as we input them, they actually show up on the website. Now it will not be sequenced until the next day. So arbitrators are being told, like some are actually doing it during the status call, some will choose to do it immediately after the status call. So I would say that next day, that next business day, you will see all the results with the sequence number.
And unless you may want to know, okay, did it get set for this day? You can certainly do that immediately after or during the call, but it's not going to give you the time or the sequencing information. So really, I don't think it's going to be that useful to you until the next day.
Which actually the next question is, how do we choose the date for the case?
Same way you always have been. So at the status call, nothing really changes. We call out that sequence number or line number. Somebody shouts out the date. Okay, then that's the date. We'll say 9, 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock, whatever it ends up being. And then later, if you want to go on the website, you can confirm what that time is. And more importantly, you can see your sequence number.
When we begin using breakout rooms for pretrials, will we be able to unmute ourselves?
Just as you have been before, yes.
There's a lot of comments in here, so I'm just
Yeah,
filtering
we have
through
a
the
lot of
comments.
stuff in here.
If we have a weak internet connection, can we join without video? We'll just reinforce that.
Figure out your internet connection.
Yeah.
It's been 2 years, guys, and I know that that's hard. Some people are in remote areas. Sometimes you might be traveling. There's always a Starbucks to connect online. You're gonna have to figure it out. It's 2022.
Yeah.
I'm
Well, and
picturing Rachel right now asking Chairman Brennan that question.
well, and I can tell you from
like him, don't you?
experience, Arbitrator Sinan, myself, and Judy with the WCLA and Whitney at the commission tested all this out yesterday for today's session. And I was sitting in a cornfield out by DeKalb, where you would expect to find minimal internet connection in my car when we were doing this, and had no problems. So, and I was using the hotspot on my phone at that time, so it was all good. Is there going to be some type of grace period before cases are auto dismissed to allow everyone to get acclimated with the new procedures?
I would say if you don't show up within that hour and there's like not even an email, it would still be DWP'd. So, I mean, we're understanding that there's emergencies. That happens. There's a difference between a one-off emergency where you have to email and say, I'm so sorry I had an issue, versus that being a regular practice. And so again, if you show up late, we understand if there's an email saying that you are having an emergency, we understand. But again, that should be a rare occurrence.
This one, actually, Rachel, you can answer, or Arbitrator Sin, you can answer part of this, and then I'll also say what the WCLA is going to do with it. The question is, will the video of this be sent to the Iwcc email list or posted on the homepage so that anyone who isn't in the WCLA or didn't get the meeting info can see this later? The WCLA will have this available through our CLE book that's on the website. And if somebody wants to watch it and is a member of the WCLA, I suggest they watch it through there because they can claim their 1 hour of credit. And Arbitrator Sinan can speak to what the commission is going to do with it.
We'll also be posting it. You'll see an email blast about it. We're also going to be hosting additional training sessions for attorneys in July, and those will be accessible to everyone, whether they're a WCLA member or not.
This one says, while we were doing this, I tried to access via my iPhone and the Webex icon. Webex required both a meeting number and a password. Will we receive a password for each scheduled meeting?
So no, everything. So this was a unique, this is a seminar. So with just using the main meeting rooms for arbitrators, you're not going to have any password. There's not going to be a special link. It's going to be the link you guys have always been using for the arbitrators. None of that changes.
What's the policy on assigned trials? For example, I received a trial date and time. That's great. However, when I appeared, I was told everyone was assigned the same time. Shouldn't we get a time for a trial instead of sitting around, especially if everyone is on the same page?
So definitely communicate that with the arbitrator as far as, what you're expected to. Because there's so many cases that don't go, an arbitrator is going to set multiple cases, for 9 o'clock. And for example, I do communicate to the parties when I'm emailed, here's where you are in the list. Here's the trials that are planning to proceed, how many witnesses they're going to have. You're going to have to assess it. That's how it was pre-COVID. You didn't know if you were going to actually be able to go. If you had something that was going to be all day, you'd make arrangements with the arbitrator about that. So I think, I saw that Arbitrator Salini said like communication is key. Reach out to the arbitrator and try to get a better idea of when that might go or what are the chances that you might have to reschedule.
Is there a method to sequencing? 19Bs are at 9 a.m., but 2022 cases are later in the day.
It depends on the arbitrator's schedule. So, some start at 9 a.m., some might start later, just kind of depending on their schedule. So it just kind of starts at the start of, the first line numbers are going to be at the start of that arbitrator's day. So yes, if you're later in the schedule, you can anticipate that you're going to be towards the end of the day. Not every arbitrator is running 9 to 4. We just don't need that many spaces. Some arbitrators will start a little later. So we have our time frames, but yeah, you can expect that you'll be earlier in that day if you're at an earlier sequence number.
Will the link to the meeting be posted on the main website under call sheets, or will the arbitrators email us a link to join? Or are you using the same calendar that's already on there?
Yeah, the same calendar, the same link. Nothing is changing with the link in how you enter. If you had any questions about today was a webinar. It was an individual session. I think depending on how you connected, you may have been prompted for a password. Nothing is changing with how you have been entering into a meeting room, the personal meeting room for that arbitrator. That's always going to be located in the same place. I recommend that maybe you copy and paste that and put it in a Word document that's a little bit more accessible to you than having to click through the website. And I'll admit that screen with all the dates and the small links is frustrating.
Okay, the changes are set to take effect August 1st. What is the plan for July?
I think some arbitrators will be practicing. So you might expect in July, some arbitrators are going to start that. And we acknowledge that there's a learning curve to this, okay? So we understand it's going to take a while, and we'll be patient. And we expect you guys to be patient with us too.
And I would tell you guys, prepare to start doing this in July. I think many arbitrators are going to be practicing, like Rachel said. So, you're not at the mandatory stage of it, so we're all going to be learning. But I would plan for July to know how to get into these rooms, or to learn how to.
I think that's exactly what we should be doing too when we go into these pre-trials. There's a number of comments about thanking you guys for the presentation, and we thank you. It's been very helpful. And our last question is, do we get CLE credit for today? Yes, you do. That's probably the most important question to a lot of people. To claim your CLE credit, you need to go back into the WCLA system, fill out the survey, and then claim your certificate. Otherwise, your CLE credit will not be logged for the day. And I just have 2 additional announcements for the WCLA before we wrap this up for today. The first is that the Young Lawyers section is doing the school supply drive. It is donations again this year because that is what the charity would prefer. The link for all that is available on the website, and we encourage you to make a donation if you're able to do so. And we will be taking donations through July 15th. And today, a bunch of people are going to run their shoes off at Race Judicata. We will be having a tent at the end of the event where pizza and drinks will be served. So come out, support the runners and the walkers if you can, and just socialize and enjoy your fellow attorneys and members of the bar. So does the panel have anything else for us today?
I would add, I'm probably obviously getting into that category of older guys that most of you have seen for many, many years. Hang in there. It will get easier and easier and easier as you use this. In a couple months, you're going to wonder why you even were worried about it. Believe me.
I don't think we could have said it better. Well, we thank everybody, especially Arbitrator Sinan, for putting all of this together for us.
Yes.
Arbitrator Napleton, Hickey, Nath Rivera, and Selene, thank you for helping with the breakout rooms and being here today for everybody. Hopefully this has been informative and everybody will adjust to this very quickly. So that would conclude today's program. Again, thank you for attending.
All right, thank you guys. Take care.
Take care.
Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.